The situation with metal theft in the UK increased in 2009, and there was a significant rise in the level of crime that was being recorded across the country. From 2009 up to 2012, we worked very, very hard with all of the forces and with other agencies to look at ways of reducing that. One of those was to bring in measures to the scrap dealers to make it harder for criminals to convert metal into cash, which was one of the main driving forces behind this. We worked very, very hard to do that, and between 2009 and 2012 we saw a significant drop, and early in 2013 we'd had such an impact that we'd seen nearly a 45% drop in metal theft across the UK. In terms of lead theft, this was perhaps seen as a disproportionate problem because of the impact that removing lead from church roofs and from historical buildings had. There was quite a community impact around that, and that was one of the driving forces behind the media interest in the problem of metal theft. And that did have quite a lot of impact in terms of the Church of England putting pressure on government to look at changing the legislation. The proportion of lead in terms of overall metal theft is believed to be around 10% according to the figures that we have. Look at steel, and there's copper, there's aluminium, there's lots of other materials that are stolen, and lead forms a proportion of that theft. Probably the largest impact on metal theft was as a result of the launch of Operation Tornado. It was quite a simple project in that we realised that one of the driving forces behind metal theft was the ease of converting metal to cash. So what we wanted to do was to make it much more difficult for the thieves or the sellers of metal to convert that metal into cash. As a result of the launch on the 3rd of January, yards in the northeast of England, which was the trial area, were not able to take metal off sellers unless they produced photographic identification and proof of address. That proved so successful during the trial period that was rolled out nationally across the whole of the United Kingdom. As a result of that, we were able to get a piece of legislation through on the 3rd of December, which removed cash trading from the scrap industry. This had a significant impact on metal theft, as not only were we relying on the identification, but we removed cash from the system completely, which made it much, much harder for sellers to convert that stolen metal into cash. And it made enforcement powers for the police much more effective, because if we turned up at a scrap dealer and they had cash on the premises, they had no justifiable reason for that, so we were able to use other criminal acts to deal with that. As a result of the success of the cashless trading, we were able to get the new Scrap Metal Dealers Bill 2013 with an action date of the 1st of October. That's changed the picture of the scrap metal dealers significantly, in that now they will all have to be licensed, and there will be a cost implication for that. The police have closure powers which enable them to shut these yards down. And in addition to that, there's a suitable person check, so if someone has criminal convictions which are related to metal theft or environmental issues, then they will not be issued with a licence. So basically, from the 3rd of December, anyone that came into a scrap metal dealer who wanted to sell their metal, whether it be stolen metal or not, they were not able to get cash for that. They could only have a cheque from the dealer or a form of electronic transfer, which put that money directly into their bank account. This is probably one of the most fundamental pieces of legislation in terms of changing the way the recycling industry is operating, and it has been warmly accepted by the legitimate side of the business. In terms of metal on buildings, as we've discussed earlier, the lead that's removed from roofs, the reason that was so easy to take and was such a problem was because it was so easy to convert. This new act will make it much, much harder for those who want to do that, because they'll have to find other avenues in terms of disposing of it, and that will become much, much more challenging for those who want to try and steal it. We need to remain vigilant around metal theft. We have had a significant impact in reducing metal theft, and in some forces and regions within the United Kingdom we have dropped metal theft by up to 75%. But if we take our foot off the pedal or our eye off the ball, we can very easily see that metal theft rise. There are a number of preventative measures you can put in place to prevent lead theft. There's the DNA-based material which can be painted on lead, which allows the police to then trace that material back to where it was stolen by using ultraviolet light. In addition to that, there's the use of alarm systems which trigger when people go onto a roof of a building where there's lead, which notify the police, but also they're very, very good at deterring the individual because they hear alarm and they leave those premises. In addition to that, the Institute of Material is working on a set of measures to mark lead with a unique coding system, which will again allow enforcement agencies to trace material when they come across it back to where it was stolen from. The new Scrap Metal Dealers Bill will have a significant impact on the recycling industry, particularly in terms of lead and copper and aluminium. This new act will make it much, much harder for those who want to do that because they'll have to find other avenues in terms of disposing of it, and that will become much, much more challenging for those who want to try and steal it.